What is the best loophole you have executed? And how did you find it? When I was in the Navy, I got stationed at a huge shipyard with very little oversight. I walked around with a form-laden clipboard for an entire work week, looking at random objects and writing on my clipboard. When questioned, I would look at the person's name tag and ask their supervisor's name, then write on my clipboard. I eventually stopped and started actually doing my job due to boredom. No one caught on or tried to stop me. Clipboard plus scowl equals immunity. Edit. My most upvoted anything ever is not about the work I have devoted my life to, but about the work I tried so hard to avoid. Hooray. I once wanted to buy a guy's car on Craigslist, but I was too cheap to pay for the Carfax. So I took his VIN and listed his car for sale on eBay. As a service to buyers, eBay provides free Carfax reports on cars on their site. Done and done. I took Spanish 1 twice in college and it counted as 2 years of a foreign language. I'm pretty sure their computer just ducked up in my favor. I'm a truck driver and stop every day at the same place. There's a McDonald's next door. On the receipt was a link to fill out a survey. If you filled it out and wrote down a number on the receipt, you could turn it in for a free McDouble or a medium fries. So I made 2 separate orders and got 2 receipts. Filled out 2 surveys that took 15 seconds each. The next day I used the receipts to place 2 separate orders for 1 free McDouble and 1 free fries to see if my suspicions were accurate. I got 2 receipts and indeed, the survey link was printed on each receipt. I ate free lunch for 2 months before I started intermittent fasting. I had an ATM card at a bank that gave me 4% interest if I made 30 charges per month. So I wrote a script to buy myself that many 25-cent gift cards from Amazon every month. The true purpose of coding. In 2006, I and a friend were in an intro to programming class in high school. Our teacher told us about this Microsoft programming contest for high schoolers. So we decided to enter. They had the goal for what you were supposed to do, an example, and the code they used for that example. We realized that the rules didn't say it had to be original code, just that whatever we submitted would belong to Microsoft. So we took their code, tweaked a few lines to make it work for the test scenario, and submitted it. We ended up tying for second, which was good enough to win us each a pocket PC. In high school, all our teachers graded based on tests, plus 1 grade for all homework. The homework grade was equal to 1 test grade, and they dropped the lowest grade. I never did 1 bit of homework in high school. I studied and I'm a good tester, so I did well. Not having homework meant I had plenty of time for almost every sport and after school extracurricular, plus sleep. I realized that if I don't bring up that I made a minor error or slacked off, nobody really notices. The more you call attention to something, the more it seems like a bigger deal than it actually is. Of course it depends on the context, but sometimes less is more. This was super exciting when I was younger. Back when Walmart had bouncy ball dispensers. It was 25 cents for a bouncy ball. I found out that I could put a quarter in, turn it slowly until it gave me a ball, then turn it back to get my quarter back. I did it like 4 times before I felt bad and told my dad. Had a salary job. Contract said you are paid $X for all hours work as complete compensation. No overtime pay will be granted. You are expected to work as long as it takes to finish your work. Little did they know, they didn't specify a minimum hour requirement. Being a fast worker, I basically showed up whenever I wanted. The only thing that kept me at work longer than a few hours each day was my supervisor. He was a cool guy, so I stuck around with him. Our school used to offer us this new platform where you could study and play games with points you earned studying. So being the 12-year-old me, I looked into this beta platform with pure precision. And I found that there was a little line of code responsible for giving points. So you'd log in, inspect element and go to console and execute this command. 80k points and no worries. All classmates were jealous. They fixed it mid-year but didn't take any of my points. Epic victory. Walmart used to have something called Savings Catcher. You scan your store receipt, and their app searched for lower prices for the items you purchased. If something was cheaper at another store, Walmart would credit you the difference to a store gift card. In the beginning, there was no limit to the of receipts you could submit. My hubby and I enjoyed cruising all the local Walmart parking lots for discarded receipts. In our heyday, we were pulling upwards of $200 per month. Eventually they tightened the rules, and they are now shutting down the program as of May. We had a lot of fun as a couple playing this game of how much can we make this? Not really a loophole, but I could put 10% of my gross pay into shares of the company. We have not really grown and stock was around 70 cents most of the 17 years I have been there. Company just sold to a private equity firm and they are going to pay $3.30 for all stocks. I have over 200,000 shares. Guess who just became a millionaire today? Yeah, more of an investment than I loophole, but still incredibly cool. Not sure if this is the greatest one, but I'm only paying $10 a month for my gym membership, although it should be like $55. A year and a half ago I was going out of town for 2 months, so I put my membership on hold. When it's on hold you can't enter the gym and they only charge you $5 bi-weekly, which is better than cancelling and then paying a registration fee all over again. Well, when I got back from my trip I swiped my card and it worked without a problem, although I had forgotten to take it off hold. I've never told any of the staff and every time I swipe my card it lets me through, all while charging me the lower price. It's pretty neat. In high school I worked as a cashier at a major grocery store chain. Our store offered a loyalty card that accrued points for discounted gas. Every $100 spent equals 10 cents off per gallon at the store's gas pump. Many customers would come in who didn't want a store card. I filled out an application for a store card with fake info and a dummy phone number and used it on any customer without a card. This resulted in them not missing out on store deals and me pretty much never having to pay for gas throughout most of high school. I was at a store and needed cash for later in the day. I don't remember why I needed cash, I just did. Anyway, the store has an ATM machine, so I go to use it. $4 fee. Duck that. I instead buy a 0.99 cent pack of gum and use my debit card and get $100 cash back. I got my cash and fresh breath. Not my story, but adverse possession laws. Basically, a man was able to obtain a house at $330,000 for $16. The law essentially states that if a property is abandoned for a certain period of time, you can fill out a form that costs $16 and legally claim that house. Then, according to the story, if I remember correctly, the game would be to try and keep that house and stay living in it for 3 years. Then no one can try to revoke the form, and you should be pretty home free. Unfortunately, I don't think this man lasted too long before it was either his neighbors or bankers that repossessed the house for some unrelated reasons. But god damn it, if that wasn't the cleverest use of simply using your wits to gain something, then I don't know what is. Mine's kind of minor, but in the Paradise Bay game on iOS you can buy and sell stuff from other players. Most expensive items were these tool things that were used for clearing trees and rocks and stuff. You could sell these tools for a maximum of 300 coins. But of course, them being max price, nobody else playing wanted to buy them. Thing was though, I noticed that if an item sat in your store for about a week, the game would automatically buy them off you at your desired price. So I went around other players' stores, bought all their cheap and wanted tools they usually try to sell for 100 or 150. Then just stuck them in my store at max price and waited for the game to buy them off me. Girlfriend jinxed me during conversation. Said I owed her a soda. Didn't specify what soda. She got her aloe vera and coconut soda. It tasted like absolute shit. I don't get jinxed anymore. If you marry a woman who loves you, you can have all the 6 you want. All the 6 she wants. A few years ago, I had a drug test for work and it came back positive for Vicodin. I hadn't been on, nor had a prescription for Vicodin in over 3 years. I was, however, on codeine cough syrup a week earlier and had a prescription for it. My job was on the line. So I started researching. I found that in about 31% of people with a certain genetic makeup, codeine will produce a false positive for Vicodin. I had found reasonable doubt and that was all I needed. I contacted the doctor in charge of the lab at the testing company and revealed my findings. Rather than doing any genetic testing on me to prove whether his results were right or wrong, he simply ruled the test as inconclusive and let it go. Any Starbucks used to give you $50 refills on iced coffee, iced tea, hot coffee. They still do at that price I believe, as long as you had your cup. Friend worked at Starbucks and gave me a sleeves of venti iced cups. And I knew how to write the cup code for iced coffee with vanilla syrup from previously working there. So each day I would take a new cup into the local Starbucks and get my $3 venti iced coffee for $50 for several months. I believe refills are still 50 cents, but you have to get them from the same store during the same visit. Most games that require time to develop items could be made instant by changing the device's time on my iPod Touch. Doesn't work anymore because it's all synchronized to the internet. Friend of mine years ago saw that the Franklin Mint was selling the commemorative quarter set of all 50 states for the same price of 50 quarters with free shipping. At the time he had a credit card with 10% cash back and a limit of $15,000. He would buy $15,000 worth of quarters on his credit card and then put them in rolls over a few nights while watching TV. Once they were all rolled, he would take them to his bank and deposit them into his account. Then take that deposit of quarters and pay off his credit card bill. Then 2 weeks later he would get a check in the mail for $1,500 as his 10% cash back from his credit card. Now with his credit card empty and an extra $1,500 in the bank, he would do it all again. He did it every month for over a year until the Mint stopped offering the deal. Don't recall how I noticed it, but on the north side of the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut, there is a parking garage on the opposite side of the street. In between the entrance and exit is a piece of curb just long enough for one car. For a number of years in the 80s and 90s it was not marked as a no parking zone like it is today. When I went to concerts or basketball games I could pull up shortly before showtime and that spot was invariably empty. Easy in, easy out. Every time. Someone said last one to jump in the pool is gay and jumped right into the pool. I never jumped into the pool after that, so technically he was the last one to jump into the pool. Lol. You understand that you just played yourself out of ever jumping in the pool again, right? Next time your feet touch water. Instant homosexual. I once got a traffic ticket that required me to take online driving school. This involved a lot of tedious clicking. And you couldn't press next until a certain amount of time had elapsed. On the clock at work, I wrote a script to do the thing for me. The act busy loophole. I always kind of knew it was a thing, as do most people. But this one event solidified it. One day at work me and my brother were the only ones there. We didn't really have much to do besides sheet work, cleaning, mowing, act. So we were just hanging out in the warehouse on our phones. I hear the boss man's pickup pulling into the lot. Earlier in the day we had been doing some painting. So I picked up the paintbrush and was acting like I was getting all the nooks and crannies on this thing. My brother stayed on his phone. The boss man didn't say anything to us. Just grabbed some work orders and left. So I go back to my phone. About 5 minutes later he texts my brother and tells him to go mow. I got to keep sitting on my ass getting paid just by acting busy. Since that day I've become the master of acting buoy.